Okay. So, well, hello to everyone who might join and who might see this video online. I'm Milena. I currently work in Novi Sad 2022 European Capital of Culture, and I have been invited by the Creative Europe desk to talk about personal experiences as someone who is active in the field of culture, but also who works in ECoC. As we all know, Novi Sad will become the European Capital of Culture in 2022, but what I thought would be more interesting to share is also experiences of my colleagues from other European cultural capitals in 2022, which is Esch, where we have Sarah, and Kaunas, where we have Aurelija. I assumed that the audience of this meeting or of this event would be young students from Faculty of Dramatic Arts and those who participate in education processes of culture and citizen participation. So this is why when I wanted to tackle this topic, first I wanted to demystify how we all work in ECoCs in these large structures which somehow shape cultural policies of these cities, and how we all got here. So I know that for me what was very important during my study years was to visit all the events, but not only visit them, but also take some part in them as a volunteer. For me, it was very important in order to build personal contacts, but also to have some first-hand experience. It was always fun going backstage and meeting with all these people, often being a host to some important guests. It was unpaid work, but I only now see how I benefited from it. So in this context, when I first came to the ECoC, my first jobs were exactly those. So maybe some small hosting tasks or some small simple tasks. But then later, as I took some initiative, the complexity of this job became larger. And then finally, now I'm an equal part of the program team and the international cooperation team. So firstly, I wanted to ask Aurelija and Sarah maybe to tell us something about their first professional steps in the field of culture, or broader, if you wish, and of course, international relations and everything. So maybe to discuss this topic a bit, how you created your first professional encounters.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I can start. It will be very interesting for me to hear Sarah's experience because I remember her doing her internship in Kaunas. So everything is very connected, actually. But since today we are trying to share personal individual experiences, so how did I got here? It's actually not very different from what Milena said. My way towards ECoC started from volunteering. I remember I was helping to blow thousands of balloons in a celebration when we received the title, and it was quite a festive mood in the city. And actually after that, small team of my colleagues, like 4 people working at that time, they started to go around the city and to present this idea to the cultural organizations. And at that time I was working in a cultural center in the region, and they came there to present the vision, and I was really inspired by the vision to see so many years ahead and to have this change in their minds from temporary to contemporary capital. This is the slogan of Kaunas 2022. And I said to myself, okay, I think this is going to be like the best place to be in the city if you want to work and to grow as a professional. So volunteering position was the first step towards that. Since I was graduated from educational University of Education, so I had some knowledge and skills in teaching, in giving lectures, it was about theater, but in general, it was just, working with young people. And at that time, they launched a youth program, and they said, okay, we need some extra hands, because the program is getting bigger and bigger. And I just offered my help voluntarily. And then step by step, after a couple of months of successful work and my dedication towards it, because I also kind of wanted to see this bigger picture, they said that finally now we have a possibility to, to employ you. So maybe my message to I don't know, other people would be, it takes time sometimes for others to realize your potential, but as well to some, mechanisms to make a spot, like additional spot for you with your set of skills. So that's like very personal what happened to me. I just waited, did my best, tried to help, and after a while it paid off. So maybe that would be the story of enrollment.
So you were actually volunteering at the European Capital Culture Foundation.
Yes.
And before that, what were your some first professional experiences? Like what kind of tasks did you do?
Before enrolling in European Capital of Culture organization, actually I moved to Kaunas because of my future husband. He was living there, and I was very new to the city in general. I didn't had any like friends or places I like to go, and I spend a lot of time just walking in the city and participating in cultural events. But step by step, of course, I got enrolled in the university because I had this all time by myself. So I think enrollment into some kind of communities is also very important. So university was one of the first communities of mine. And then through that, started volunteering and some side jobs, I would call them so, in various, but NGO sector. All my life I was enrolled in this non-governmental sector, which maybe helped me to navigate when this whole project got very complex. I kind of understood the non-governmental, sector, and that also helped. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Do you want to take over?
So hi everyone, I'm Sarah Caron. I'm working for Esch 2022 as part of the cultural program and in charge of the international relations. So from my side, the culture, it was mostly a passion, an artistic activity when I was a kid. I really liked it, but I never thought that I could evolve professionally in it. So I started studies in languages applied to business. And during my study, and also because I'm passionate about traveling, I was lucky to do my last year of bachelor in Poland, in a city that was getting the title in 2016, Wrocław. So, and after this year, I was understanding a bit more Europe. I had new visions and wishes. And when I came back to France, my country, I had to apply for a master degree. And luckily, I jumped into a master and found a teacher, an amazing teacher that was passionate about ECoCs and was working in culture, but also working with Europe. And I found in him a new way of interpreting Europe through art and culture. And I was like, okay, this is something I may like, and I wanted to try. And I was lucky with my first step. I did an internship in Mons, first of all, who got the title in 2015. And I was working with the team of the heritage, the legacy team. And I discovered even more. I'm really curious. So it was a great opportunity to learn a lot about ECoCs as a legacy. And for my final year of master degree, thanks to my teacher advices also, he proposed me to apply to Kaunas 2022 for my last internship. And this is where I got a big jump into the cultural field, because thanks to this really amazing internship, I got the opportunity to join Esch 2022, the Twin City, for the title year. What did I do before? Let's say that we always say to the students, yeah, you have to be super good at school, have good grades, etc. But finally, those days, the most important is to have experience behind. So when I was starting at 15 or 16, I was having small jobs, taking care of children or youth, etc. And after doing volunteering for student association, travels, organizing events, etc. But without thinking that I would like to evolve in this field. And finally, at the end, on your resume, this is helping you to understand that, okay, I developed such skills, so I could try to use them for my professional career. And that's when I started to understand that this is finally something you can do on a job, that I found my way to develop myself in the ECoC field. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that you have both tackled really important topics and questions, those of the community of professional contacts and of course of the patients, of having the vision, seeing all this. And Aurelija, you also mentioned working with the non-governmental sector. This was also my experience. My first jobs, you know, you will receive like 200 euros, and when you're a student, you're like, wow, what am I going to do with 200 euros this month? But yeah, well, my previous experience was that these were usually very, very small teams, maybe 2 to 3 people, where you were having really lots of work. Whereas here, Novi Sad Cultural Capital currently has really a lot of employees, I think more than 50. So here we have some two aspects of these positions. So at one hand, we have this hierarchy and this complexity of the work, but still we are offered the opportunity to cooperate with finance, to learn about legislative procedures, to also know some maybe procedures that we will never need, but still we learn how to navigate through these fields. So I wanted to ask, like, what is your experience in this regard? Because Sarah, you mentioned this was your opening to the world of culture, and I would say that our job is not always being creative and thinking about new programs and new perspectives, but rather maybe something really, really bureaucratic and sometimes boring, I could say.
Yeah, I can add to this, going back, you know, before the ECoC work. Yes, I also was enrolled in this non-governmental sector. And as you said, there's usually a very small projects. They have start and end date, and you have to, I don't know, organize series of events, for example, or gather the opinion of young people and then make a document out of it with a small team of 3 or 4 people. So that was also like the thing that I did before. Not in Kaunas, but in the city I was originally from. It's Vilnius, not European capital, but Lithuania's capital. So I would say, yes, that while being in Vilnius, after this bachelor studies, there was this small kind of works that step by step constructed the portfolio that I have now. But at that time, it really seemed very scattered, like one half a year you're working with collecting, you know, opinions. The other part of the year you're working on, for example, fundraising for, I don't know, some social groups of people and helping them, you know, to get more publicity, starting to use social networks. I actually myself, I don't remember why, but I joined Facebook like very late, the latest of all of my friends. And at one point I understand that I have to use social networks because all the half of the part of your work started to just be directly into communicating through social networks. So that was, I remember, interesting for me that due to work assignments, you had to enroll in other platforms, and people you met along the way throughout the year, you meet them in maybe different positions, but that's how you always kind of get this feeling, okay, what's going on in general in, for example, NGO sector in Lithuania, because the country is not so big. So basically, time to time, if you're participating in some conferences or some other bigger events, you meet those people that you've been fundraising together. The other person, you remember how you were going around with questionnaires. So it's like this feeling of community. The more people you are lucky to meet and have relations with, throughout the year, they repeat themselves at some point. And some of them are even now like my colleagues in this European Capital of Culture project, like outsourcing some parts of what we do now. So it really helped me along the way.
I would like to jump on what you're saying, Aurelija. In culture, it's super important, the network. I guess many opportunities are coming through the people you meet, because you just learn to say yes, like, okay, let's try this challenge. Would you like? And most of the time, the best is to say yes. If you feel like it's not dangerous, etc., you should say yes, because all those people you meet in your network will create you new opportunities, new paths to follow, and thanks to them you finally manage to enter in such huge project, and you can be only thankful to them.
And what I would like to add to Sarah's saying, that sometimes when you're saying yes and some project or some activity you could get involved might not be the most successful one, that's also a lesson, because you understand then some people and their activities aren't that trusted much, and it will help you also in the future when you have this, you build your critical thinking actually by not only always enrolling into the good things, but sometimes in some, shitty conference, that's also good, because you understand that the organizers then are not the ones you want to work with in future. So I would also encourage people to say yes, and then to evaluate. And if the thing that they enrolled is not like good enough, also to learn from that and take it as experience, future, not to make this kind of mistakes again. So it's very important to fail sometimes, I guess.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we talked about networks and the people. What I sometimes struggle, I have to admit, with is that we all have not only our personal preferences, I wouldn't call it like that, but we all have some background where we come from. So if we simplify it completely, okay, we love punk, but we don't like pop. But then again, at these positions, I have to say that we are firstly using public money as our budgeting source, primarily as our budgeting source, whereas we have to constantly remind ourselves that we need to involve broad aspects of different participants from NGO sector, from public sector, maybe some folk music sometimes, traditional aspects, which sometimes might not come from our side. So being here, I'm always scared that I'm favorizing someone, that you invite someone to participate in the program. How is that going to sound? Is it not ethical to do these things? But that's something that really happens. So, okay, when someone gives me a task to invite someone who would be good at this program, of course that I will invite someone which I might personally prefer. But then again, of course, we have open calls and everything, some mechanisms. So what is your position here? I don't know, Aurelija, you are a bit maybe confused with the question, but yeah, how do you find yourself here? I mean, because Novi Sad, also as Kaunas and Esch, are really small towns, and everybody knows everybody. And as you talked about it previously, Aurelija, in NGO sector, we all meet the same people. Some people often have good opinion about European capitals of culture. They will not change it no matter what happens. So sometimes we're really in some sort of delicate positions of explaining, working towards the benefits of really the entire city, and not specific communities. or not not wanting to broaden the topic to the migrational communities and marginalized communities. I'm sorry. Yeah, and
I would react that, you know, from my perspective, it's both. Sometimes you have to use this sense of what you feel that is going to be right for a specific program, or what artist might be suitable in that specific, I don't know, event or happening. There is this part in this work. But the other half is when you enter the topics you have no idea about. For example, like really recently, we were constructing next year's youth festival with a group of young people, and they felt really passionate about trap music. Like, it's not like, I don't know, I don't understand that. As well, it's so I don't like it, and I don't know anything there. But so that's my personal preference. But on the other hand, I understand that it's a trend now, and it's needed for others, not for myself. So it's just like, yeah, you are aware of that, and you press this button that, okay, stop your personal preferences. Let's see what the audience wants. I think when you mentioned that we are using this public money as our primary source of funding, at the same time, we should use public opinion on the things that they want to see. And we're like just, you know, mediators and administrators, I would call us more in this way, because that's what we have to do. We have to build bridges between what people want and what is the overall, you know, in the field happening, and maybe suggest a bit more, like a spices. But for that, I always consulted with my colleagues. There are no decisions that are made like by yourself alone. There's always a group of people, at least, you can talk with and ask them, okay, I'm thinking to invite this or this artist to this kind of concept. What do you think? Maybe you have other suggestions. And just one of very important things is to be open and not to, you know, marinate yourself in a 10 people, you know, pool from which you, because that's nothing new you will bring to the city. And our like the main goal of project is to make this contemporary scene of culture. So it's constant looking, searching, Googling, participating everywhere, and just seeing, and talking with people and colleagues.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear, maybe this is more sort of a presentational part of this discussion, but I would be really interested to hear how you shape your program. So here we have project managers, and we have really a lot of help from the, let's say, curators, but we have a group of artistic directors instead of one artistic director coming from different fields. So visual arts, classical music, pop music, etc. So of course we are never alone in these decisions, and we have whom to consult. So can you maybe just in short tell us how this works in both Kaunas and Esch?
Yeah, I can start from the Esch side. So our program, let's say that we created a big open call for projects. So we were talking about the fact that you need to let also the people choose. The inhabitants are the more important people of your project. You do an ECoC for your city and the people living in the city. So we did an open call for project for local actors and association and cultural institutions from Esch 2022 region, but also the country, the great region with Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, etc., France, and abroad. And let's say that our program was kind of shaped thanks to the selected project. So we had pillars, the big topic, remix, art, Europe, yourself, and nature. And then after it was the idea of mixing them and reshape and talk about some values, identities, etc. Around this project. As a team inside Esch 2022, we're a small team in the program team. We are 6 people plus the director. So we are dealing with internal project we are creating by ourselves with the participation of partners, external, but we are mostly having external project developed by our partners. So we don't really have a control. As said, Aurelija, we're administrators. We call ourselves facilitators. So we help them daily to be sure that the project is evolving well, they have the financial support, etc. But the people and the association are the heroes of the European Capital of Culture 2022. So let's say that the program is thanks to our partners.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. In Kaunas here, we have a bit maybe different structure. So there is the part of program that came from open calls from our local partners. That's natural, and it's quite big, more than 80 projects, big ones. So we have a team who is facilitating these projects. But at the same time, inside our own team, we have 7 different platforms. Each of that platform has its own curator, or even sometimes 2 curators, but usually it's 1. And underneath that curator, there are also small team working and helping him to develop this specific program. So that's how the team is basically structured. And there is this huge technical team, administrative part, international relations, but they are not creating any parts of the program. These 7 curators, I would call them so, they're responsible of their own lines, and of course they sometimes overcross. We're making projects together, but basically we're trying to stick with 7 platforms and external projects too.
And I'm curious when you talk about citizen participation. So we were talking a bit about the program, but how do you involve citizens? So, okay, Sarah, you told us, and you also, Aurelija, how you involve third parties to participate in these programs like cultural organizations and institutions. But what kind of mechanisms do you use to involve citizens themselves?
Maybe I can start, because we have huge number of possibilities of participation of locals. So basically in each of these 7 platforms, there usually one platform in general is dedicated to communities. So basically one platform, one group of people are working with neighborhoods and constantly making personal level connections actually with some people from specific neighborhoods, then organizing various scale of events, but as well as interactive workshops where we constantly collecting a lot of sorts of people opinions. So that's like open laboratories in all these small districts that are constantly talking with people about their ideas, and just supplying and providing them with materials and artists to implement them there. So participation of locals in this specific platform is like huge. 100% of their content is for the communities. But in other platforms, it really depends. Like, for example, my own platform I represent, it's youth platform. So we have active young people who finish our educational program, and then we like headhunt or invite them to join the curating team and to build program together with us. So their opinion is like a base pillar for us, continuing and stepping towards 2022. In other programs, my colleagues, they they always are having like open calls, open discussions in specific sites, with specific communities. Either are they professional, or they're just locals, or they're foreigners that are living in Kaunas. So many. It's like one part of our job is just constant communication, going out and talking, with the people, and collecting their ideas and helping to become to realize them, to become a part of, because we're saying that next year, how we're going to celebrate Capital of Culture. Everybody's going to celebrate. And by your personal celebration, the city will fill with this new, feeling of contemporary. So it's not like we're focusing on delivering some very high quality content, cultural productions, which is on one hand, but on the other hand is inviting everyone to be able to celebrate and to say, okay, I did this, small piece of pile in this huge wall that now is in the middle of the city, celebrating our identity. Everyone can find themselves somewhere.
On Esch side, let's say that during our open call, one of the biggest, I could even say the most important criteria was the public participation. Each project has to have a participative dimension to the public. So through workshops or during your representation, your show, you need to evolve, no matter when, a bit the public. So all our partners, they have their networks, but we help them, and we help them daily to just open to more accessible also public, with some association, as you said, like with migrants, but also disabilities, all kind, and to really be sure that each project can also be open to everyone. And this is really an intense work to just meet with everyone, as said Aurelija. You need to meet everyone to get them attracted also by the idea. Sometimes they won't like your project. It's fine, because you have maybe 1,000 more to introduce. So maybe they will find interest in one and also share the words to their neighbors, etc. So we worked with the public through our share of testimonies, because we, as each program, as you do also in Novi Sad or Kaunas, there is also a historical part. So people want also to share their own stories. And they want to share an object to participate to a project. They will be on stage to perform music. So there are so much different way of participating that the only effort is to talk and to make people feel comfortable and feel the same values as you do on your project.
Yes, I would say, well, Novi Sad has, of course, different mechanisms, as both of you have mentioned. One of those being the network of cultural stations, actually decentralized cultural centers in different areas of the city, where you have both concerts of classical music, but at the same time you have making lunch together with neighbors, where citizens propose these kind of programs. So I really think that this cohesion and this use of space as not only something cultural, I mean, what culture is, I don't want to go there now, but I really think that the content itself is what sometimes also acts as a mechanism to preserve some objects from historical damage, or preserves cultural heritage, in the sense that we can reconstruct the space to use it as we want. So this is something that Novi Sad, I think, has recognized and has successfully done. There's an interesting exhibition I would also like to mention in the gallery of Matica Srpska, one of the most prominent institutions of visual arts in Novi Sad, where they have actually invited 40 citizens, or maybe I'm wrong about the number, but something like that, to the depots of the museum to choose one work they see them, they reflect with. So they have made exhibition out of these works, where everyone has come to depot and selected one work, and of course explained why that was the one. I really think that's a really interesting move. I have started this with this note of going backstage is always where something fun happens. So this is really something I say I could be proud of. of a kind of program. We were talking about the program. Of course, I feel that this is something that is the most visible part of our ECoCs, of course, and of every ECoC. But I really think that the processes are also important because, Aurelia, as you have mentioned, not everyone can see this vision years and years ahead. Especially Novi Sad has had this situation with COVID that we had to postpone 1 year. Actually, that is why we are sharing this title in 2022. I have heard some stories that they say that if you work for 1 year in ECoC, that's the same as you have worked 5 years in some cultural institution. 10 years, okay. I assume that's because of the hyperproduction, that it doesn't have to be always positive. But I know when I see myself, like before working here, I can see how confident I am. Even some basic skills like English speaking, where I have constantly to talk with partners from abroad, has improved. I'm now having meetings with the army of Novi Sad, like going by myself, which I couldn't imagine. And of course, that's something that comes with years. But I have made this introduction just to underline how different experiences ECoCs bring. So maybe I could ask you, what is the most empowering skill, or what is something you would say you have gained through working in ECoC, or some of the most interesting experiences you've had you didn't expect to happen in the field of cultural capital?
I agree with what you're saying. We have an expression here regarding our job. We call ourselves like a Swiss knife, because you can have different tools, and when you work in the field of culture in some institution, but even more in ECoC, it's just you have to learn to do everything. You told this before. You need to learn financial stuff, administrative, being creative, but also technical, events, logistic, everything. And I guess what impressed me the most in the ECoC was the administrative part. This is like, you have so much to do, but I guess this is eating maybe of 90% of your times, because there is so much to do regarding other projects. So that's one of the big skill, I guess. Now I will get prepared with all the templates for everything. You get ready, you have a little bag, you know where to go for the following job.
Yeah, I would agree with Sarah that throughout the year, the tasks really changed. And now in this very last stage of becoming a European capital of culture, the administrative part is something that blows my mind, how complex it can be. It's like, it seems sometimes I feel that all those systems were created to make your work just be more complex rather than to help you. But nevertheless, we have to use them, But talking about the skills that I gained throughout the year, so I would say that I would definitely finish another master in university if there would be such a master of multitasking. So doing at the same day, starting your day work, from answering letters, but in the middle of the day you find yourself reading testimonies of Holocaust survivors and extracting some positive thoughts on that, and in the end of the day you're rushing to a community event where they are making tea, for I don't know, from community picked herbs, and I'm not saying that every day is so exciting and various of tasks, but when you think that, okay, I've really tried out everything, that's it. And then another day comes and you receive a task that you have never thought about doing, and you're doing it. So just this as well skill of problem solving. I guess it's very important in our work, because sometimes you have to be this mediator and to have to find this consensus that both sides, either artistic or the community or specific partner, would be happy. And it's years before, for me, it was quite challenging to solve conflicts or to solve some problematic situations. And now I feel really more confident about it. I have some methodology, I would say so, in working in like sometimes even stressful situations. Now I feel that they don't stress me that much, because I know that everything will pass, and we still are going to do things afterwards.
Yes, I'm sorry, my internet was a bit broke, so if I disappeared for a second, it's just temporary. I know that this is like maybe a bit tough question, and I know that we might have a completely different conversation a year from now, like I will never work in ECoC again. It's terrible, but I'm joking, of course. But I know that usually what is really important here are actually people involved in these processes. So as we discussed, the capacity we build here and the skills we gain, but it doesn't happen rarely that people go to work in other cultural capitals, not only in the sense of ECoC, but to work in other larger cities, to leave the small city they've been at, to leave the infrastructure they've had in the ECoC. So do you see yourself staying there? Do you see the potential to have your career there and to continue developing yourself in Kaunas and Esch? Or do you plan to gain the skills from here and to take them somewhere else? I have to be honest, I really do not have the answer to this question at this moment. So I'm curious, what do you think about that?
I can share that at this moment, I also don't have this answer. Today, I had the talk with my colleague. She asked me what I will do in 2023, and I said, like, I don't know. It's still so many things to do now. How can you think about something in the future? I have to all these tables to fill and all this so many things going on. But if just thinking or relating myself with this capital of culture. So yes, I gained a lot of experience, and I really got interested in cultural diplomacy. So if city would need such a position, I would really think about it. It's just when you want to involve yourself in the politics, let's say not in a national level, it's very rarely that you will stay in one place. So that would be some of my thoughts, but definitely I'm not thinking about constant leaving, just the ECoC year finishes and I'm away somewhere. No, it's just I waited too long for that to leave. I want to see how everything will develop.
From my side, I have a totally different picture in mind for the future. I'm not from Esch, I'm not Luxembourgish, and if I'm here, it's for the project Esch 2022. I'm here for this, and I will leave when it will be done. So I feel like the legacy would be for the people living here, and to be happy to do the legacy heritage of this. And me, I would like to follow with another ECoC. When I was young, I wanted to be an ethnologist in my secret life. I wanted to discover the culture of different countries and the people. And I found myself that discovering Europe through culture, by living in a city, developing the cultural strategy, but also meeting the people, their wish, etc., was a nice way to feed also my curiosity. So I would love, maybe not directly in 2023, because you need holidays, you need to rest and to also have time for yourself. But so far I am super open to join another ECoC in 24 or later on, to develop more skills and to learn more skills, but also experience from another culture, to after have a big baggage to start working in an institution and settle down somewhere. What about you, Milena?
Yeah, well, I have always thought about having something on my own. So I am from Belgrade, and as you said, Sarah, I came here for this opportunity. But yeah, as time goes by, I'm really not sure what should I stay or should I go. But at the same time, I always think that the only way to, not the only, but one of the best ways to achieve your goals is to have your own organization and to deal with topics you're so passionate about, where you will be the one, I mean, not the only one to decide, but where you can somehow shape this. I feel that this is really, really a large structure, as we said, with positive and negative aspects of it. But I see the question in the chat from Jelena, who is interested to become a part of Novi Sad European Capital of Culture. And this is actually where we wanted to end this conversation. I will say that we currently have the open invitation for touristic 2022, actually the opening ceremony of the European Capital of Culture, where volunteers are currently open to apply. I will find the link and send it to you, but my internet connection is really unstable and I'm scared leaving this window. So I can send it in chat later on, or I can you can send your email here or to me personally so that I can forward you the invitation for touristic. But I also wanted to ask Aurelija and Sarah what kind of opportunities they have maybe for international volunteers, and if there are none currently open, maybe you can tell us what are some ways how people from Serbia could visit or participate somehow in your programs, or maybe some specific projects where you have these kind of exchanges and so on. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, okay, I'll go first then. So from my personal platform that I represent, the youth platform, in January, we will release an open call for emerging designers. So from a fashion field, young people who are creating their own fashion, they will be able to apply, because in summer, where I would like to invite all of you, we'll have this amazing city festival for 5 days in Kaunas, starting from June 29th until July 3rd. And there's going to be various of activities. And one of them will be the fashion show of emerging designers. So that's a very specific opportunity for Serbian people to apply. And the application form and other application forms that my colleagues are having at the moment are situated in our web page, kaunas2022.eu, and there's this specific part for open calls. So at the moment there are a couple of them running for cultural for people who are participating in cultural field, and very, very same as Milena said, Kaunas is also inviting people who want to volunteer in a big opening event. We are having it on January 22nd. So please, everyone who wants to visit Lithuania during that quite cold winter, beware of that, of course, but please join our team and experience it together with us, celebrate this capital of culture amazing opening. And throughout the year, I'm really encouraging everyone to visit the Kaunas 2022 webpage and the section of open calls. They change time to time, so a lot of my colleagues and our cultural partners, they put all the open calls there.
From Esch side, so yeah, there is the big opening ceremony. We call it a Remix opening. That will happen on the 26th of February. And you're all welcome also to join us for this big moment and unique one. There will be few events in 2022 that are open to the public, international public. There are, of course, a youth program developed where you can still subscribe to participate to literature contest, music, dance, etc. There are more broad audience open, such as the EuroCon for the fan of Comic-Con. The EuroCon will happen in Dudelange, a city part of our territory, in 2022. There will be 5 nights of culture, which is a big tradition in the city of Esch. and we'll welcome. It's a kind of really big public participation event in Esch in September, the fifth one, the biggest. There are so many projects that will be shared on our websites, but also Facebook page. We have also many artists and partners looking for participants, such as musicians, painters, or I don't know, actors or writers, everything, even cook, if you're a cook or such kind of project. So just stay tuned on our Facebook page or Instagram, etc., to catch the project you're interested in.
Thank you, Sarah and Aurelia. We have one more question. Is there any joint activity of 2022's ECoC's plan for this year? Of course, yes. There are different programs through different platforms, as Aurelia has mentioned. Only those I know is this exchange of artists in residence with Kaunas and Novi Sad, but also maybe some smaller projects, which I'm not sure if we can still discuss because not everything is legally finished. But in that sense, yes, I feel that there is also a big support of the cities, not only through programs, but we are in constant communication through applying to different international calls, or maybe Sarah and Aurelia, if you have something specific in mind. But I know that this exchange is constant and that we are in this really together quite some time now.
Yeah, one thing I can mention that is really going to happen, and we invite participants from Serbia and Esch, is European Capital of Culture Forum that takes place in Kaunas. So this is the international, really European event for everybody to experience culture in one place, you know, when all the partners are gathering. So this is very important. It's going to be in if I'm not mistaken, in the autumn next year. So that's also the communication about it will start quite soon.
Yeah, and we have a lot of joint activities. So you have the co-creation, that's purely co-creation. You have two partners or three really creating the project together. But we are also working a lot on artist exchange, where we are organizing a music festival, a theater, etc. We always find a way to include an artist from Novi Sad or Kaunas to be sure that there is this relation between the three of us. We are triplets for 2022, and we really want to have a shared communication and show that we are maybe separate from in Europe geographically, but we are together in this big adventure journey.
This is actually turned to be quite exciting because Novi Sad was supposed to be sharing the title with Elefsina and Timișoara, which is kind of a regional thing. But now I feel that with Esch and Kaunas, we are really going through the Europe. Yeah. So that would be this from me. Aurelia and Sarah, if you want to add something else, please feel free. Also, if someone from the audience has more questions, please feel free to ask. I will just suggest that maybe we can, I will write you the email to gather all these links for the open calls, and then maybe share it to Milan, and then maybe like link it in the Facebook event or somewhere who wishes to apply and have this kind of experience. Yeah. So if there are no more, yeah, please.
I just wanted to say thank you, Milena, for this international get-together. I think we should do it more often and in more different, topics. Maybe not sharing only personal experiences, but sharing some good things, but as well as maybe some failures that would be funny to laugh at each other's, you know, what went not how we expected it, because it's you know, it's life. Not everything is just roses and pink color. So thank you for this pleasant evening and pleasant talk.
Yeah, thank you very much. And also for the people watching, or the youth that could watch maybe later, that if they're attracted by entering in cultural fields professionally, to not be afraid about this big monster as ECoC, but this is a really great opportunity and journey to develop their skills in culture. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us. That's
Yes,
super.
well, I'm sure that we can talk about the failures after our opening ceremonies and whatnot, as expected. But yes, of course, thank you so much for making this conversation so interesting and fruitful. Milan, do you want to finish?
No, I would also like to thank you, and I don't know, see you in Esch, Kaunas, and Novi Sad next year.
Yes, thank you, everyone, and yeah, we will share these links as soon as we can.
Of course.
Happy
See
holidays,
you.
everyone. Best wishes.
Best wishes. Great holidays. Bye.